you can't not tell someone about their future when they have to plan their life.
Mm-hmm.
You can't not to. You can say to somebody, "We have not decided yet." That might be true. I don't know what the situation is. I mean, that's bad management in itself. But you can't say to somebody, I'm not allowed to discuss your future with you. I mean, that that's the worst management in history. Not fair is when the referee makes a decision during the game and it goes the other way and it's whatever, that's not fair, but I'll continue. But we're talking about your job, your life, your work, your future, your money, your income, your planning, everything.
Yeah.
And this person holds the information. This person holds the keys and they're saying, "I'm not telling you about your future." It's not it's not within their power to not tell you because it's your future. It's not their future, it's your future. So to say that I can't tell you about your future is it, 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 it's wrong. It's terrible because it's wrong because you have to tell people about their future so that they can make plans. Well, I said it's bad management. It's bad management because you have a contract that ends in 5 weeks, and 5 weeks is really fast time in the modern world. That's maybe less than 5 to 25 days, 25 working days. Less than that if you're not working every day. So you could say that's 15 to 20 working days, right? So your contract ends in 15 to 20 working days, which is equivalent to 2 weeks real time, between 2 to 3 weeks real time, and they won't tell you what's happening. I mean that's the worst management in human history. How can they possibly do that to somebody? I mean, it, it, it's so serious that you should be able to demand an immediate answer to the question. You should be able to because it's affecting your entire life. Everything that you do in the future will be affected by this one decision. I think because it's your work. I th- it makes sense to me that everything you do will be affected by this one decision. So it is absolutely essential that you get a the very clear answer to the question. Because what if they say no? What if they say no? There's nothing. We don't want you. Goodbye. Oh, that's not very good. Which is a possibility. They could say that. And then where are you going to be? Did well, you you sort of can't make any plans because you're waiting for them to tell you, which is which is understandable. But to be in a powerless situation when your life depends upon the results of this situation is to be in the worst place possible. Um, yeah, I tried to find an analogy for it, and I can't think of one that is as bad as this. Well, on a scale from 1 to 10, this is 10. And in order of essential information that you need to know right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, this is 10. This is something you need to know immediately because your next step depends on this step. It's not that they're obliged to tell you. It's that you absolutely need to know the information. It's got nothing to do with them. This is about what you need to know. It's got nothing to do with them. I don't know how I would be in I wouldn't be in your situation because I would have probably punched the other person before now. which is not a solution to the problem, which is why I avoid those kinds of situations. And I don't avoid them in the sense that I don't go there. I try to deal with the problem immediately when the problem arises. Like if somebody says, I can't tell you that now, I say that's unacceptable. Because I have a right to my opinion. And then, listen, the older you get, the more right you have to to call out bullshit when you hear it. Yeah. The older you get, the more right you have to say to say to people, I've lived long enough to know that that's nonsense. I've lived long enough to know that that's rubbish. You can talk to children like that and, do a little bit of abracadabra magic and pretend the world's okay. But you can't do that with, and I would say that to the school. Yeah, that's how I would present that to the school. I would say, like, you can do this abracadabra word magic with other people, but it doesn't change the fact that the school is not organized enough to give you a direct answer on what will happen at the end of your contract, which is what you need. Um, it's unfair and it needs to be resolved. I imagine if you come back in 100 years, you'll find exactly the same problems in the school. There will be different faces, but the same problems. That's just the way the school is orientated or organized, and it's a private school, right?
Yeah.
And private schools are expensive, right? Right. So it's a private school. It's more expensive. Now, why the the reason why private schools are more expensive is in general because they provide a higher quality of education. Yeah, that it's a common problem with educated classes and with the children of wealthy parents or more wealthy parents that they have a certain level of contempt for society. They take everything for granted, and they they become lazy because everything is given to them and they don't have to do much thinking and
Yeah, maybe.
much real work. You understand that it's completely logical for them to do nothing because the parents are buying the qualifications. So you can't expect anything from them. You can't. You can't ever expect anything from them because the parents are buying the qualifications. Your expectation is every time you ask them to do something that they will not do it. My general expectation would be that they will never do anything I ask them to do because it doesn't make any difference because the parents are buying the qualifications at the end of the day. Well, we also have to understand that there's a certain level of this in every education system because modern education systems are almost worthless because they've been so devalued by the fact that anybody can go to college or university now. When it's open to everybody, it has no value. Yeah. Um, the whole system's in a mess, but it's not shocking that it's in a mess. It's probably always been in a mess, and the way that Europe has taken to resolving its educational problems is terrible. There's no failure anymore. Everybody passes. Everybody gets a credit. Everybody gets evaluation. Everybody gets a certificate, and everyone is great, and everything is fantastic, and don't worry about anything, except for the fact it doesn't translate into any value in the real world because at the end of the day, the qualifications are for employers who need employees. But if everybody's got a qualification, then you can't tell the good from the bad, and
No.
you're just going to be constantly hiring people who can't do the job properly, and eventually the businesses lose money and collapse. And if a business cannot employ the right people to do the right jobs,
Hmm.
and then what have you got? What have you got when you're a business? The average business. I'm not talking about people thinking differently, okay? Because there are people thinking differently, but the average business needs to employ someone. So what do? They go to Trinkwilder or some employment agency, and the employment agency goes through its files and looks for people, and they check CVs and work record history and qualifications, and you're going to end up with basically the same groups of people with similar qualifications, most of whom have no experience.
Hmm.
And then these people are not going to know how to do the job very well, and they're going to be surrounded by other people who are the same as themselves, so they're not going to realize they can't do the job very well because they'll think that all these problems are normal. Um, and then the end of the day is that companies do collapse because you just can't find the right people, or before collapse you have stagnation. The company can't grow. Yeah, well, stupidity leads to more stupidity, especially in government-based systems. Um, oh, we need more people. We need more immigrants. We need more people with qualifications coming into the country. So they just open the borders to everybody, and everybody floods in, and it doesn't help because most of the people, or a lot of the people, don't have qualifications, and they don't have work history, or they can't do these things back in their own country because again they don't have the qualifications, they don't have the skills, they don't have the university, they don't have the education, um, and so they can't really contribute. If you can't contribute in your own country, there's a strong possibility that you won't be able to contribute in another country. It doesn't always correlate like that,
Hmm.
but yeah. So it's it's hard for the employers to find the right kind of people, but it shouldn't be because now that people are online on the internet and there's 20, 30, 40 different job platforms that you can go onto and try to find people. It shouldn't be that complicated, but it still is because in general, what's happening in your school is what's happening in all schools. Things are slowing down. Things are slowing down. Now, the end point is that things will just stop. But but the powers that be within society will do everything they can to make everything seem like it's still moving. Um, there will be the illusion of progress rather than progress, which is what we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
More and more people than ever before are getting certificates. Yes, but the standards are going down. Um, it's it's confusing and difficult within the educational world because people who realize the truth get out and go and do something different, or they go and set up their own little private clubs or private groups or private schools and work with that. If you are progressive and you are energetic and you like what you do and you want to move forward, then it's very difficult in a big system to do that. Independently, you can change in one day what the entire establishment system can't change in 150 years. Yeah, that's why my school in Slovakia worked because I could change anything and do whatever I want. I could change the books, I could change the course, I could change the activities, I could change the starting times, I could change uh, my approach, I could say no to people. I could change it all instantly. And that's why it worked, because I was able to move things and keep things moving and keep things moving forward. Now, none of those things are possible in bigger organizations. None of them. None. So how can you possibly be progressive?